Welcome everybody to our Digital Apprenticeship Employer event. It's lovely to see you all here. So the agenda for today is Marco is going to give some information about the programme and a bit of insight into employability skills around the digital sector. And then I will give you an overview of the Digital Apprenticeship Programme and how that works. But first of all, I'd like to introduce Nathan Clark, who's Deputy Head of School for Computer Science and Engineering. Did I get that right, Nathan?
Close,
No.
Close but not quite right.
I will leave you to introduce yourself.
I can. Thanks, Louise. Good afternoon, everybody. I have the smallest role of all here today, just a kind of a brief formal introduction and welcome to the event. As Louise was saying, I was Deputy Head of the School of I am Deputy Head of the School of Engineering, Computing and Mathematics, in which the Digital Technology Solutions degree apprenticeship resides. And hopefully over the next hour or so, the team are going to give you an introduction to everything DSTP related in terms of what it looks like, its composition, and how it all works. I think just to really add before I shoot off again, DTSP was actually the first of our degree apprenticeships at the university, a full 4-year degree apprenticeship that we've actually run, and we're in the 4th year of it. So our first cohort of students are graduating in the next couple of months, which is incredibly interesting. And what we've noticed and reflected upon this particular experience over the last 4 years is really the quality of the apprentices that are coming through have been quite amazing. So it's a really interesting program. Degree apprenticeships more generally now, since this one's been introduced 4 years ago, the university has and does have a wide range of degree apprenticeships across a wide range of different subjects across all of the schools and the faculties. And I think this very much reflects, if you like, the nature of the direction of where higher degree apprenticeships are having a role within higher education. And of course, it enables us, particularly for DTSP, to have that really close relationship with you guys, with industry. And that's a two-way conversation that helps us build better programs and produce better graduates, but hopefully helps you guys fulfill the requirements you need in the particular areas of the industry that you work into. So I think it's a really exciting opportunity. And I think at this point, I'll hand back to Louise and the team to tell you more about it, but I hope you enjoy the event.
Lovely, thanks ever so much, Nathan. Marco, I'm going to hand straight over to you to start off your presentation.
Yes, thank you. Just before starting my presentation, can I ask, just to have an idea of the numbers, can I ask how many of you are employers who are looking at the possibility of sending apprentices to the university? And also, I would like to know how many of you are people who actually want to become an apprentice. So in terms of employers, how many employers do we have? Okay, so 3 employers. Feel free to unmute your microphones if you want to say something, or if you want to answer the question, or put something on the chat. Okay, so and then in terms of potential students, potential apprentices, so Jordan, I think you've just stated that you would like to be a student. Anyone else who would like to become an apprentice in the room at the moment? Okay, another one of you. So we've got 3 employers plus 2 potential apprentices. Okay, so for the employers, a question specifically for you. Do you have any specific skills gaps that you want to address? Or are there other reasons for you to be interested in the program? So feel free to unmute your microphones and answer the question, or put something on the chat, whatever it is.
So from my understanding, no, at this moment in time. I have 2 apprentices, one who's not with Plymouth University, and I'm aware of one other, so 3 apprentices have come from my employer. Okay. And generically, we're just looking for well-rounded engineers who can apply knowledge and address as to how it goes through. But that's very specific to what our basis is, compared to we're more of an engineering design rather than a practical organization.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you, John. Thank you for providing this explanation. So, Anthony, well, it's not exactly a gap. what you have at the moment, but you simply are looking into expanding. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, we tend to do a lot of hiring via universities and highly skilled people. We will be expanding over the next few years, and therefore, yeah, it's actually building a pipeline of people who can grow within the organization.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Brian, it's similar to Anthony. Excellent. Thank you so much. So, well, the reason why I was asking these questions is because, well, I wanted to use my presentation to introduce some information that has been published recently by a couple of organizations in the UK after exploring the IT sector and the skills gaps, and then offer well, some insight into how to address this situation. That is largely the motivation behind the University of Plymouth interest in creating a degree apprenticeship. So, well, I just wanted to have an idea, but now that you have answered these questions, and just to make sure that we don't stay here for a very long time, then let me start with my presentation. Can I please ask all of you to mute your microphones? And then after the presentation, I am going to be very happy to answer any questions you may have. But if you could please mute your microphones. Another thing that I am going to do is I am going to switch off my camera so that I can put some slides on the screen. So if you don't see me, don't worry, I'm still here and I will be speaking. It's just that I want to make sure that the quality of my slides is appropriate for the presentation. So I'm switching off my screen and I'm going into a presentation mode. Okay. Okay, excellent. So, well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this event. My name is Marco Palomino. I am a lecturer in information systems and big data. For the past 3 years, I have been in charge of teaching all the first-year undergraduate students enrolled on computing-related programs at the University of Plymouth. Last year, I started to teach final-year students as well. I am also involved in postgraduate modules, teaching and supervising master's and PhD students, and I am the DTSP Programme Manager. DTSP stands for Digital and Technology Solutions Professional. It is a degree apprenticeship, and it is a program that provides a flexible alternative to traditional university study, where the apprentices, that is those who are enrolled on the program, can earn wages while studying for a full honors degree. Now, as I mentioned before, I would like to start my presentation by sharing with you some ideas related to the motivation behind the DTSP program. For example, I want to talk to you about employability and skills gaps in the IT sector that we can later address from the perspective of the teaching and education provided by the University of Plymouth. Inevitably, talking about employability requires talking about the future. However, I do not have a crystal ball, and it is not possible to predict the future. Just to give you an example, let me say that 20 years ago, people believed that the future labor market in the UK would involve radically reduced working hours and increased leisure time. However, since 2014, when mobile devices became the most used devices to access the internet, work and leisure hours have become blurred by our increasingly mobile lives. Nowadays, jobs are being done on the move at any time of the day in almost any location. This example highlights the difficulties involved in forecasting change and the need to take a modest and careful approach when discussing future opportunities related to the employment market. However, the way we think about tomorrow influences what we do today. We do not have definite answers about what is around the corner, but we can try to systematically make sense of the direction of travel in the labor market and assess the key uncertainties that we know exist. A recent report published by the UK Commission for Employment and Skills identified a number of trends shaping the future of jobs and skills up to 2030. According to this report, information technology will continue to pervade our work environments everywhere. Simply consider the applications and services illustrated in these pictures. The technology that powers these applications and services has only been around for 2 decades at most. In 2 decades, however, this technology has become embedded in our everyday lives, our personal activities, and the workplace. Our expectations about what computers and mobile devices can do have been shaped by this technology. However, this proliferation of technology and our increased global connectivity will also make societies and business processes more vulnerable. Within this context, companies will be forced to make their businesses more resilient. The report published by the Commission for Employment and Skills identified a number of trends shaping the future. Such trends were divided into 5 categories: business and the economy, law and politics, resources and the environment, society, and technology and innovation. Regarding technology and innovation, it was pointed out that the development of information and communications technology will continue to be characterized by performance increases, miniaturization, and nanotechnology. The amount of data generated by the digital economy will continue to grow. As you may know, and perhaps Anthony knows this even better than myself, since 2017, the annual amount of data traveling global networks has exceeded the total amount of data accumulated between 1984 and 2012. Analyzing this data offers great potential for efficiency gains, new business models, and opportunities. The Department for Digital Culture and Media and Sport has published another report. This second report concentrates specifically on the cybersecurity labor market in the UK. According to this report, a large number of businesses lack staff with the technical incident response and governance skills needed to manage their cybersecurity. The report estimates that approximately 653,000 businesses, that is approximately 48% of the total number of businesses in the UK, have a basic skills gap. A basic skills gap means that the people in charge of cybersecurity in those businesses lack the confidence to carry out essential tasks and are not getting support from external providers. The most common of these skills gaps are setting of firewalls, storing and transferring personal data, and detecting and removing malware. Approximately 408,000 businesses, that is 30% of the total number of businesses in the UK, have more advanced skills gaps. in areas such as penetration testing, forensic analysis, and security architecture. Finally, more than a quarter of the existing businesses in the UK have a skills gap when it comes to incident response, and do not outsource this. What can we do to address the existing skills gaps in the industry? Well, that is precisely the reason why we have created the Digital and Technology Solutions Professional Degree Apprenticeship. We have created two pathways within this program to equip people with the skills needed to excel in the IT sector. The first of these pathways is software development. The second one is cybersecurity. Now, what we are aiming to do is to build up a fundamental computing skill set, as well as a specialist knowledge that the apprentices may want to concentrate on as they approach the end of this program, so that every one of our apprentices and eventually graduates understand the core elements that need to be there to support a professional career in computing. This fundamental skill set consists of 5 components that are listed on the screen at the moment. We begin with systems analysis and design. And that has to do with understanding how we capture the requirements for a system or an application, so that we end up creating the right solution. There are occasions where we require a particular system and we get something else that doesn't quite fit the bill. However, if the analysis and design is done correctly, then this overcomes this risk. From systems analysis and design, we move into software development. In other words, we talk about actually writing the code, developing the systems, testing such systems, and ensuring that they are all correct and reliable. We have also included cybersecurity because we want to make sure that the systems that we produce are protected and they work reliable and we can trust them. The ability to communicate over the network is fundamental nowadays. So understanding how local networks and the internet work and how we can use them is critical, regardless of what aspect of computing we are looking at. And finally, databases. It has been estimated that more than 80% of all the computer programming code produced globally is related to data. Again, something that Anthony might know even better than me. But if more than 80% of the code that is produced has to do with data, then it makes perfect sense for apprentices to learn about the structures where we can keep data efficiently and later on analyze such data in order to gain insight and support decision making. So that is the fundamental skill set. What I am going to do in a minute is I'm going to take you to the website where we have a list of modules that we offer in the 2 different pathways of this program. But before doing that, and just to finish off my presentation with some conclusions, I have pointed out here 3 important things. Skills gaps and skills shortages continue to affect a large number of organizations. There needs to be more investment in technical skills and training within the computing and cybersecurity sector and the wider economy. The computing labor market is challenging to navigate. Therefore, schools, universities, and training providers need to give young people and training recipients a holistic skill set, covering the relevant technical skills and soft skills that employers demand, and the ability to implement those skills in a business context. That's exactly the focus of our DTS program. That's exactly the reason why we have created this program. Many employers could benefit from broadening their recruitment practices to employ more career starters and apprentices, as well as people transitioning from other sectors. So, right, I'm looking at the chat now. We've got from Matt a large piece of text that probably Louise has read and she will be able to address in a moment. Right, the other thing that I mentioned that I was going to do before I open the floor for questions is I wanted to lead you to the DTSP website. I'm going to put the link to the website on the chat so that you can access the web page. Well, this web page contains all the information that you might need in order to learn about the program and eventually join the program. As explained before, we have two pathways: software developer and cybersecurity analyst. So those are the two specialist pathways that we are offering at the moment. And we have included here a list of the core modules that we offer as part of this program. The program is undertaken in 4 years, and it's 2 modules per semester. We have those that provide the core fundamentals in computing, and then we have the specialist modules and also the work-based learning modules that are specifically dedicated to address the needs of the employers in the different contexts in which the apprentices are working. So once I have done that, what I would like to do is go back to Louise and check whether there are any specific questions that you want me to answer now, or can we proceed with Louise's presentation?
No, I think it should be fine to move on to my presentation. I think I might cover off your question, Matt, with some of my slides. So, okay. So I'm going to share my screen now and hopefully give you a bit of an overview as to our program. Okay. Oh, can everybody see the screen? Yes, lovely. So obviously Marco has covered some information around what a degree apprenticeship is. So really just to kind of go through the key elements of what a degree apprenticeship program is. It's a flexible alternative to a traditional degree route. So what it really does is allows yourself as employers and your employees to benefit from a high level of theoretical study, combined with that contextualization from the on-the-job training that they're receiving within their working role, within their employed role. So these are degree apprenticeships. They're still relatively new, first introduced in 2017, and they were designed and introduced by industry. So key employer stakeholders have been involved in the development of all of these degree apprenticeships that are on offer now. And they were really designed not only to propel students into the world of work, attracting new and fresh talent into your organizations, but also to fill high-level skills gaps and to allow an opportunity to have workforce development in place for existing members of staff as well. So they are fully flexible programs that can be utilised for different areas of your business, right through from recruitment to actually upskilling and developing and retaining staff. So just to give you a bit of an overview of the university's journey through the degree apprenticeships and adopting the degree apprenticeships, they were actually one of the early adopters of the degree apprenticeship programs when they launched, and we offered our first 2 programs in the summer of 2017, one of which was actually the DTSP program. So since then, as you can see, our offer has grown quite exponentially. We now offer 10 apprenticeships across a wide range of sectors that you can see there. And that is due to grow again in September with additional 4 programs, and again further in 2022. So these programs are developed as a result of engaging and listening with our local employer partners. Our apprenticeships are developed as a drive of those initiatives and working with our employer partners and seeing where your real skills needs are, and that is how we grow and strengthen our program. In 2019, we had our first cohort successfully achieve EPA, and those were across our Chartered Manager, nursing and nursing programs. And we actually have had over 100 apprentices complete now. And as Matt and John and Roger all know, we're very excited to be closely approaching our first DTSP cohort completion, which is due. They are due to EPA this summer as well. So quite exciting times for the DTSP. Now, in terms of the DTSP, as a result of undertaking the apprenticeship programme, your apprentice will achieve a BSc Honours in Digital and Technology Solutions. So the programme is delivered over day release over the 4 years. Now that is within term time. However, the apprentice is expected to still undertake some what we call on-the-job training, obviously within work where they're able to apply all that learning that they've achieved through the theoretical study. It's a blended learning programme. So in 2017, I was going to say, this September, we are launching the DTS as what we call a blended programme. So it will be a mix of online delivery and campus-based tuition. In terms of support for the programme, your apprentice will be allocated a personal work-based tutor. Their role is really to assist with the contextualisation of all that rich theoretical learning that they're gaining as part of the degree and helping to apply that directly into the workplace. They will also be allocated an apprenticeship reviewer for the duration of the programme, who's there to help to track progress through the programme and monitoring all those lovely apprenticeship requirements that we have to abide by. As Marco says, there are 2 pathways through the programme. I won't bother too much on that because that's already been discussed. So in terms of apprenticeship requirements, in order to draw down that lovely bit of funding that we get for your apprenticeships, we have to inquire that there are certain things in place. So first of all, there must be a contract of employment in place. Now that is for the duration of the apprenticeship. So that has to be across the full 4 years. And your apprentice has to be contracted between 30 and 40 hours per week. The cost of the apprenticeship wages must be met by the employer. And as a result of it being an apprenticeship, your apprentice can actually bear no cost for the programme. So that does mean if there are, travel expenses that are incurred as part of that training, then that does need to be covered by the employer as well. It is also really important to ensure that the apprentice is in a role that can support the apprenticeship standard. So your apprentice will be asked to demonstrate certain knowledge, skills and behaviours from the apprenticeship standard. So it is important that they are in a role that can support that. If they're not in a role that, that those knowledge, skills and behaviours maybe aren't part of their day-to-day role, then as long as you as an employer are happy to support the exposure or opportunity to gain access to those specific areas, that is absolutely fine as well. For all apprenticeships, it is a requirement that 20% of the apprentice's contracted working hours is released to undertake study. So for the DTS, that's fairly straightforward. As I say, it is kind of operated on that day release basis throughout term time. And then the remainder of that 20% outside of term time is usually made up with that on-the-job training. So where they're having that ability to gain new areas of learning within the workplace, obviously learning, applying all that theoretical study that they have as part of the programme. And finally, also, the apprentice must be able to demonstrate English and math at level 2. Now, if they don't have certificated evidence for that, they will need to undertake functional skills alongside the apprenticeship programme. Now, that is not included in that 20%. It's actually in addition to that 20%. So, as an employer, next slide, there we go. Your responsibilities in terms of your engagement in the programme. So as I mentioned before, in terms of the support that the apprentice will get, they are through their allocated apprenticeship reviewer, there will be 12 weekly tripartite reviews. Those are progress reviews, really to look at the progress that the learner has achieved to date, you know, how they're managing their time, how that 20% is being managed, and are they on target to achieve. And in terms of the work-based tutor visits, those are usually 3 a year, and they, like I say, are really to allow the apprentice to contextualise all that they're learning as part of the degree programme. It's really key for you to be quite engaged in those as well, because it does mean that we are allowing that learner that ability to apply everything that they're learning within the workplace. We do ask employers to provide an employer mentor. Now that can be line manager. There are no stipulations in terms of, you know, a certain person within the organisation, but again, it does need to be someone who is able to assist with that contextualisation piece, and obviously, like I said before, giving the learner opportunities to access certain areas that may be beneficial to their learning on the programme. So obviously, as an employer, we would expect you to work with the university to align any work opportunities that meet the knowledge, skills and behaviours of the standard. So that is really surrounding endpoint assessment for the apprenticeship, and, you know, how your learner is then going to demonstrate, you know, all those knowledge, skills and behaviours that they have learned both on programme and actually in live in the workplace. Alongside that is the support for the apprentice in the selection of the synoptic project. Now, that synoptic project is a live project within the workplace for the last 6 months, so obviously it's very important that you are linked in with that. And in terms of endpoint assessment as well, employer representative have to be involved in the final presentation for the endpoint assessment. So those are kind of the key areas that you'll be involved with during the apprenticeship programme. Now, I did touch on earlier in terms of aligning, you know, the work that you have occurring naturally within the workplace against, you know, the learning that is occurring as part of the apprenticeship programme. And really, I think that's where we find most employers find the key benefit really from the apprenticeship, is where where it is aligned as much as possible to, you know, all of those lovely rich projects and things that you're undertaking within the workplace, and we will work with you to do that as well. You know, the apprenticeship programme is a partnership, so we do work with you very closely in the initial stages of recruitment to the programme and enrolment, looking at what your key milestones as an organisation may be, you know, your key business objectives, and where we can really help to align your business objectives to the outcomes of the degree apprenticeship, and help you to achieve, you know, your long-term goals, your reasoning for putting your apprentice on the programme initially. So obviously that is supported throughout through the contact with your reviewer and with your work-based tutor. So really the communication is key there throughout the programme, and it's fully embedded. We do try to ensure that, obviously, you know, to make you aware that the degree is mapped to the apprenticeship and not vice versa. So at the heart of the programme really is that key endpoint assessment for the apprenticeship programme and the demonstration of those knowledge, skills and behaviours. And those are really heavily aligned with what that your apprentice will be learning in the workplace. We try to include that, you know, to ensure that it's a tailorable work package as much as possible. Obviously, you know, there are certain outcomes for the degree that we have to meet, but where possible, we do have work-based modules throughout the degree apprenticeship programme. And as I say, in that synoptic project at the very end of the programme, you can then really endorse your activities that you have going on naturally within the workplace, and hopefully gain some real added value for the apprenticeship programme, with those live things that are going on at work. Okay, so the most important thing, it always comes down to cost in the end, is fees and funding. So the tuition cost for the DTSP degree apprenticeship is 25 grand. So in terms of funding, it's broken down into two categories. If you're a levy payer, so an organisation that has a payroll bill of over 3 million annually, you pay into a levy account, and that money is taken through your employer levy account. And if you are co-funded, so any organisation really that falls outside of that levy definition, pay a 5% of the total costs are paid by the employer, and the government pay an additional the remainder, the 95%. If you are a co-funded organisation, you will need to register to secure funds for the apprenticeship programme, but our Central Apprenticeship Hub can support with all of that process. Currently, also nice to be able to announce that the government have an employer incentive currently in place for any organisation who recruit a new apprentice to an apprenticeship programme. So regardless of your apprentice's age, you can receive £3,000 for that new apprentice, and that is up until the end of September. And so obviously quite key, I suppose, for this recruitment round. That is all actioned through the digital apprenticeship service as well, so we can help you with the application process for that. Okay, I think that is pretty much it for me. I apologise if I have gone quite fast through that. So time is quite precious, so I didn't want to keep you all for too long. I don't know if you have any questions.
I have a question, Louise. So just a query going forward. So other than my understanding that the course from September 21 will all be managed in-house by University of Plymouth rather than your partnership with the City College, is there actually any difference to what you're offering, or is it just a refocusing of your resources accordingly?
So you can jump in on this one as well, Marco, if you like. But predominantly, it is aligned with the refocus of resources, really. I know that there has been some significant work on over the last year to align some of the modules with our full-time programmes. So Marco's probably better to explain that element a little bit.
Yes, so John, we are now offering the program in-house, as you pointed out. So it's largely to do with the resources. So now our lecturers at the University of Plymouth are in charge of running all the modules. I am running some of the modules myself, but largely in the final year, not at the beginning. In terms of facilities, well, we are now offering all the facilities available for any undergraduate student in the university. The same facilities are now available to the apprentices. So they have full access to the library, full access to all the labs in campus, all the perks and all the benefits that a regular undergraduate student can have is now available also to the apprentices. We have a blended model, so all our lectures are recorded. That helps, for example, if for any reason the apprentice is not available to come to the campus for the lecture or for the practical or the session in general. This can be carried out online when the apprentice is available. Well, we are now offering all the previous history, so all the information that we have been keeping, we have been recording for those modules in previous years are now available to the apprentices. Equipment is now available as well. The one thing that is going to change is the work-based learning modules. Those will be slightly different in the sense that we are now going to offer those ourselves, and we definitely want to have a larger involvement with the employer. So to make sure that we are not simply teaching theoretical concepts, but that we are teaching something that is useful for the employer at the point in which the apprentices are attending those modules. The other thing to say is that artificial intelligence, and this is something that Anthony might like to hear, we realize that artificial intelligence is now so important, so critical, that we have added a module on artificial intelligence to the two pathways that we offer on DTSP. So this will be a new module undertaken by those who join in September. The module is not at the beginning of the degree. It is actually in the third year of the program, when the apprentices are going to attend this module. But it is a module on artificial intelligence that aligns also with the undergraduate program structure that we have. There used to be a module on business organization that was provided by colleges. What we have done with that module is some of the material of that module has now been added to the software project management module that we have in the final year of the program. So that's the reason why that business organization module is not going to appear in the transcripts anymore. But we are covering the materials and we are covering the learning outcomes in the work-based learning modules and the project management module in the final year. So those would be the differences, John. So it's refocusing resources and also adding some things that we consider critical, like artificial intelligence and a more direct interaction with the employers in the work-based learning modules.
I think just to add to that as well, actually, John, following the first group's transition to study with us actually in the final year, and something that we've potentially picked up with the students throughout the programme as well is the differences between each level that they've worked through on the apprenticeship programme as well. So potentially bringing that in-house means we are able to manage that transition through level 4, level 5, level 6, which I believe may have been sometimes it's a bit of an adjustment, going between those levels. So it does mean we are able to kind of manage and prepare the learner for that transition throughout as well. And also, as fantastic as sometimes those partnerships with our partner colleges can be, it sometimes detracts from the feeling that the student gets and their learner experience as a university student as well. So I think for us, it felt quite important for us to actually decide to deliver the whole programme to give them that full university experience, really.
If I could just stay on, so thank you for sharing that, Louise. And a question for Heather for when we next meet will be understanding if you're aware of that difference that occurred beforehand. Obviously, taking in-house moving forward is really powerful. I've got a very specific red flag about those who are in that middle process at present, and it would be good, not for now because that's outside the scope of this meeting, but to understand how that's being managed and look forward. Because Jacob is in that package at present.
Sure. We'll discuss it at the next review, John, don't worry.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, John. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Yes, Anthony has a question on the chat.
Oh, sorry, Anthony, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I was picking up a point that you and I discussed offline, which was regarding the paying people a living wage. I understand that they're not generically paid particularly well through the programme.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of every apprenticeship programme is a requirement that an apprentice is paid at least the national apprenticeship minimum wage. Now, as we discussed, that is incredibly low. It was £4.15 an hour. Now, obviously, in terms of if you are recruiting directly to the programme, we would obviously always advise our employers, you know, the wage that you put in place is going to reflect on the calibre of candidate that you would then attract to that position. So it's obviously really important to bear that in mind if you have a vacancy in place. You know, we would obviously always encourage, you know, at least that national minimum wage. And just to cover as well, for existing employees, it would mean that they would just stay on the you know, existing wage which they are currently on as well. So
yep. Okay.
Thank you, Anthony. Matt, just to cover off your question, because I believe that was about the possibility of an MSc in DTS. So there is a standard available, an apprenticeship standard available for that, and it's the Digital Technology Solutions Specialist. Now, the university, we are constantly reviewing our apprenticeship offer, and there is a huge drive at the moment to look at level 7 qualifications. Especially from the School of Science and Engineering. So it is likely that that will be a programme that we do look at in the future. There aren't any initial plans right now, but certainly in the coming years, I think it will be one we focus on. So.
Thanks, Louise. That's great to hear. We've obviously got the one at the moment, but it's useful when we're marketing to possible recruits to be able to say, you know, there is a programme here that's going to last initially this term, and then there's add-ons that you can do which allows you to access, you know, higher paid positions, be it within our company or elsewhere. I'm just conscious that for a cybersecurity specialist, the road does not end with the degree, and for them to be able to trade effectively in the market, there's a lot more that they need to do, and a master's is just one of those things that will help along that journey. That's great. Thanks.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt.
So, Matt, just to add up to this, we do have a master's in cybersecurity that can be carried out as a part-time course. I mean, if you are looking for an immediate solution or an immediate opportunity, that can be something that we can explore. But yes, as Louise explained, we are looking into the possibility of adding more programs, apprenticeship programs. So level 7 is definitely there for us as one of the objectives that we have for the near future. So not now, but very soon we will be able to offer alternatives in that respect as well.
Thanks, Marco. That's great to hear. We'll certainly have a look at the part-time route. I think because of the demands that I was going to say that we put on our employees, but perhaps that's a little bit unfair. You know, with the nature of the work that they do, finding the time, you know, at 20% can be a struggle for them, and we, you know, we appreciate that you know, it's necessary, and we have to give them that as a minimum. We do much better than that in general, but it puts them under quite a lot of pressure in terms of being able to manage the projects that they're running, and, you know, just do their day job alongside. So we need to explore the kind of part-time option quite carefully, so it doesn't result in burnout through evenings and weekends, rather than, you know, what we want, which is actually education during the working day. Thanks anyway.
Perfect. Thanks, Matt. Jordan, you've got your hand raised.
Hey guys, thank you. Sorry, I was just going to ask. I've spoken to Louise in the past about this course as a student, and what I was wondering is, has there been any kind of conversations around like an initial assessment for people like myself who are already in the industry but looking to kind of upskill, rather than having to undertake potentially everything from start to finish, you know, because there might be modules or skills that somebody like myself might have, which essentially might be doubling up on time, or, you know, I was just wondering if there's been any kind of thoughts around that at all.
Yeah, oh, go on, Marco, you answer this one.
Yes, that's fine. So, well, the admissions process at the moment, the way it works is you submit your application to Louise. And then if you are in a situation in which, for example, you already have knowledge of software engineering, for example, you already have some of the skills that are covered in the first modules, then I will be reviewing that. And I will be reviewing that with you. So it's not just myself deciding whether you have it or not. There will be a conversation. And if the outcome of that conversation proves that you definitely have covered the learning outcomes for some of those modules, then, well, there is no point, as you said, there is no point in you attending those modules. So we can, well, consider a different entry point for you to the degree. It might be, I mean, ideally, if you are ready for, let's say, level 5, so that would be the second or third year of the program. Well, that would be ideal because then, well, you can start right there with the apprentices who are there at the moment. That could be the ideal position, but it's something that we will need to explore and discuss, because it might be that you have some of the modules of the first level, but not all of them covered. Then, well, it will, we will have to juggle that situation. But yes, the possibility of, I mean, the answer to your question is yes. So we can talk about it.
I think I mean also more on the point that, so that would be assuming that a student enrolls on the course, you know, an assessment at that point. But I'm talking maybe before a student actually enrolls. Has it been thought about that maybe there's a need for an assessment before that to then work out, you know, how much or how many years of content that student will have to sit through, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so I mean, we do certainly do that across across programs, and it has been a route that we have considered for the DTS. Much like Marco said, it's a case of us looking at the previous experience that you've had, and obviously making sure that that maps to, you know, the certain levels within the DTS. We do have forms which, like I say, are prior to enrolment, that we can get you to look at in terms of evidencing your experience, and it would be that we would need to evidence it, because that potential previous experience or learning would then result in a reduction in cost for the apprenticeship as well. So we would have to make sure that we had a, you know, specific and individualized plan of learning in place for yourself and your employer.
Right, fair. Thank you.
I can catch up with you about that, Jordan, if you like.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks.
Just to add, Matt's asked a good question earlier about, is their session going to be made available? So I'll make sure I circulate all the slides to everyone who's in attendance, and the recording will also be on our YouTube channel as well. So I'll send you the link to that. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, it's been lovely to meet you all, and I hope this session has been, you found it useful, you know, and you've been able to gain all the information that you need. Marco, I don't know if you want to add anything.
So just make sure that you have our contact details. So Louise' email address or my email address. I mean, sometimes it happens that you prefer to make questions separately, and that's perfectly fine. So just don't disappear without asking your questions or having a way to contact us later. Well, on behalf of all the academic staff at the University of Plymouth, thank you for your time. Thank you for attending the session today. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you later and discussing your options, your opportunity, well, your interests in the program.
Excellent. Thanks ever so much, everybody. Take care.